Hey everyone, I'm here with my dad. This is Felice. He goes by Phil Fornaro. Dad, why don't you tell us a little bit about your position that you work, or I guess positions you worked in the past, the position you're in currently, and then how many people do you manage and what does that look like?
Right now, I'm the manager of an acquisitions department at a car dealership. Uh, August was my 30th year in the industry, and I've managed from as little as two people, which I have now, to up as many as 150 people, just depending on what capacity I was in. And so doing the acquisitions doesn't require as many people, as not as many people are selling cars as they are purchasing vehicles.
Okay, when you were managing 150 people, what was your position at that time?
General sales manager for a car dealership, obviously, and sales, service, parts, various walks of life, various um, incomes for those folks. So
All right. I was just gonna. Oh yeah, that made me think. Which one of those two did you find to be a little bit more challenging? Was it more challenging to do 150 people or two? Because I think that although you might be managing so many different people with 150, it might just be like more like little giving them directions, like go maybe do this and take care of that. While managing two people, you really have to be kind of on their case. Which one do you find more challenging?
I would say the 150, just because you are dealing with different family dynamics in their personal life, that some people do end up bringing that to work. The challenge is definitely there. People always standing at your desk, hey, can you sign off on this? Or I have a problem with this. And so you have kind of a ever revolving door at your office. And so managing that many people, where two of them you can kind of hunker down and say, hey, here's the game plan, get their input, and kind of run with the ball from there.
Okay, yeah, that I mean, obviously that was my guess, but I just wanted to know maybe there was a scenario when you would say that two is harder, but obviously that makes sense. So my next question is, how would you describe your personal management and leadership style? And do you always find this to be effective, or do you find different challenges during different times with this style that you would consider yourself?
I feel like I'm a manager that leads by example. So, for instance, in our climate here, we have to go out and clean cars off of snow when it snows, and I'm always going to be the first one out there, leading by example, saying that, hey, I'm not just sitting in a high tower as a boss or managerial or supervisor or whatever you want to call me. Person. I want to go out there, lead by example, show them that I'm also able to clean the snow off the cars, and most people appreciate that, and they will follow your leadership that way versus saying, hey, you go out and do this type of attitude. I'm the boss. I get to sit in the high tower while you're out doing all the manual labor.
Yeah, and I think that that reflects at home. I mean, growing up, it's not like you would always just say, Gino, go do this, Gino, go do that. It's not like you were just sitting on the couch and telling me to go do those things. You were actively doing things yourself to help whatever it was, clean the house, shovel the snow. I mean, a good example that I can give again is a snow example, just like you did. So while I was home for over break, my dad had to leave for work a little bit early. It had snowed, what, 14, 15 inches that night, and it was heavy, heavy, watery snow. And so 5 in the morning, it's not like you said, Gino, go shovel for me. You came out there, got a head start with me, and then you had to go in and get ready to go to work. And I finished up the deal for us. But it's not like you left me with the majority load. And that's something that I appreciate all through growing up is that you were able to lead by example and not just say, hey, go do that. So I appreciate that.
Right,
Good answer.
right.
What are some of the biggest things that you've learned during your time as a leader? How has your leadership approach changed over time?
I feel like there's a more sense of entitlement in instant gratification. People want things now. Our industry has faced a challenge on the buy side of people having wanting to buy a vehicle that's not available because of production shortages, supply chain issues, those type of things, and people get kind of upset with us when we have no control over that. We can only sell the type of things that are sent to us. And being on the acquisition side, people need to understand that they need to have all their documents in order to sell a vehicle to us, that they need to have all their paperwork in order. So the challenge is, hey, do you have a free and clear title, or are we going to be making a payoff? And having all that information, data, account numbers, that kind of thing, to help them, rid the vehicle. So in order for us to do the acquisition portion of it and buy it for inventory or whatever we decide the fate of that vehicle would be.
So, like with that challenge of trying to acquire vehicles that aren't as acquirable, I guess you could say, has do you think that the way that you've managed your people right now, like your two subordinates, do you think that your leadership style with them has changed at all? I know it's still fairly a new position for you, but do you think like you came into the project or into this position having this challenge previous at another place, and then you come into this new position at a new dealership? Do you think your management style from that past experience to the new one has changed?
Not necessarily, because even though values have been very high, um, I guess the premise would be for us to purchase as many as we can so we can recondition the vehicles and sell as many as we can. But I don't think there's been a big change, as far as looking at a car evaluation. Yes, reconditioning costs have gone up because body work has gone up and stuff like that. But the overall premise is the same. The biggest challenge for me is learning how this particular company is now uses all different types of tools and computer systems in order to generate values and watch the market and stuff like that.
So you talk about your one of your challenges at your new position is learning these new systems. Can you first define for me like what you think some of the values at your new dealership is, and then do you think that you align directly with the values that they hold? And then yeah, just can you talk about that?
Yeah, so that it's the ownership here is a family owned and operated. It's not a big corporate conglomerate doing the type of management style that I don't like, where they say, hey, get this done, get this done, get this done.
Mhm.
Instead, they say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? In order to help lead the people into um, help, continue to build leaders and make all of us better. And they do a lot of promoting from within to make, their people, if they're going to promote somebody to a management position or an office manager or something like that, they will always end up looking internally first. I had originally interviewed here for a different position, and they ended up taking an internal candidate, which I felt was fair. The position was going to be a corporate trainer, and that person ended up having not only being a great person, a long-term employee for them, but also had was previous school teacher in their previous life. So they already had some of that kind of training under their belt, if you will.
So I guess the two main, while you were just describing those couple of things, the two main values that I can see that your new dealership that you work for that they have is growth and loyalty. Because as you said, they stuck with an employee, so not only are they sticking with somebody to show their loyalty to that person, but also they're showing that that person is able to grow within the organization. So, do you personally believe in those two values, growth and loyalty?
I do. If a person shows interest in growing, I want to groom them and see if we can bring them up to the next level. I've always believed that, ABL, always be learning, and from the teacher comes the professor. And, so that's kind of always been a philosophy of mine. If I can make somebody better than me, that's great, because they'll know my position and know their position. I have a feeling that you should, if you're going to be in a position like mine, you should have a good feel of all the different parts of running a dealership, and hey, what the parts people are going through, or what the service people are going through, or management, and view it from the customer side. So you need to be able to wear their shoes as well.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. The next question I have is how do you work to bring out the strengths of all the individuals that you lead? Maybe you can actually tell me the two people that work under you, what are some of their strengths, and then how do you draw those strengths out of them?
So I try to always get on a common ground with them about, hey, how was your weekend? And then they say, oh, my team won. I'm super happy, or I'm down in the dumps because I got in an argument with my wife. So the two people that I have now, one is very, very experienced in the industry, probably has as many years as I do, and the other one is only been in the position for a couple of years. So I'm kind of grooming that younger, less experienced person into trying to understand different things and view from a customer's opinion a lot of times, by perhaps saying, as you can understand, Mr. Customer, maybe giving them some word tracks that they can always work with and make that experience better for their customer.
Is there an outlying strength that the older guy might have? Can you tell me one that he has?
Um, I'm from the school that education is fantastic, but also experience has a lot to do with it. Someone that's been in the position has dealt with people all their life. You really need to be a people person to be in my opinion, to be in any kind of sales. You need to like people, good or bad. So a lot of people that are maybe very book smart, but they're not a people person, are probably better fit for capacity and maybe doing some type of accounting work, or that they can certainly be in a position to where they're not having to deal with people face to face all the time, or maybe use some training with voice inflection and body language and things of that nature.
Great. And then for your younger employee that works under you, your subordinate, can you name a specific strength that he might have?
He's very good at the technology part of it, which me
Yeah.
and the other person are not, just because technology wasn't as big of a part of. So if we need spreadsheets or something like that, a lot of times I'll call upon him to help us develop those and put in formulas and stuff like that, because he can whip it out, and the stuff that he learned in college, in high school and college, that he's just more familiar with those kind of things, and he could do it a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently than we can, and he's happy to do it. So that really helps our department. And the older person has the strength of, again, just knowing how to take care of
Right.
people, and that has a big part to do with our job.
Yeah, no, that those are, I mean, those are totally two things that hand in hand work together. And we talked about in class actually this last Wednesday that a lot of the times when you have a team, you're going to have people that have a specific strength that everyone else in the team lacks. And it sounds like for the younger person specifically, that they have this strength in technology and knowing the system of how to work things within the business that you guys have to use, these different computer module systems or whatever. And the fact that he knows them, it helps you guys do the rest of the job and get it all done as a team. So that's great. And it just shows a real life example of what we've learned in class. So I have one final question. I guess two more final questions. The last one is really quick though. So this next question, what advice do you have for young aspiring leaders?
I would just say that many of you have heard the phrase, don't be the smartest person in the room. Again, learn to live, learn to grow. ABL is what I always say, always be learning. When you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotting. So the more you can understand, or some people will say, oh, I don't, we got this trainer coming in to train on something, and they don't want to be involved with that. My feeling on that is, if you think you know it all, you're probably going to start rotting away versus continuing to learn and always be growing. So you need to be focused on trying to learn as much as you can, and never be afraid to, ask questions and move forward in your learning and education of what you're doing. Because again, if you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotting.
Right. And that's just for the viewers back at home. That's something my dad has told me a long time. Since I was a little kid, I've heard him say, if you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotten. And so it's just no matter how old I'll be in my life, I'll always know that I should be trying to learn something new every day. And if you go a day without learning something, then you're rotting. So that's something that stuck with me since I was, again, a little kid. And then I guess my final question, is there one person, character, or athlete, or just whatever that you can think of that your leadership style resembles? It's supposed to be like our fun question.
Mm, not one I can think of off the bat.
I guess I can flip it then. Is there a leader that you see maybe in politics, a favorite movie or TV show or something that you like? Actually, I think I know what an answer that you might already have. Can you tell me why Nikola Jokic is such a good leader for his team?
Uh, I think he's just a great leader for his team because he is a team player. He's not about him being the best and scoring all the baskets and being the best defense. He can read what's going on, read the court like the back of his hand, know where everybody's at, ball placement, those kind of things, and that really helps him be a good leader for his team. When he posts up, he knows that if he's posted up, he can usually get that basket in there, or if he's passing the ball, he knows he's passing it to somebody that's open. And so I think that's a big part of the Nuggets being such a good team this year is you need to be able to not be selfish, and be able to be a team player for everything.
Yeah, and I think it shows kind of. I mean, the last 2 seasons, Jokic hasn't been averaging a triple double. Now he is. In the last 2 seasons, when he wasn't playing as good as he even is now, he was the league MVP. So now that he's playing even better and he's going to win another MVP, it shows that, like you said, the selflessness that he has goes a long way. And so I think that's something that we can definitely learn from him. And I think you put it very well. So I just wanted to thank you so much for your time, Dad. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.